UFC Vegas 110 just wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire fight card for you guys, starting with the first fight of the night, working all the way up to the main event with Steve Garcia running through David ONAMA. We had an unfortunate eye poke in the co-main event between another set of heavyweights, one of them happening to be Tom Aspinall's partner and training partner, getting knocked out. We had a split decision earlier in the night, a couple fun fights, back and forth moments. Card was overall pretty good, but we're going to go through each fight one by one. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get the full fight card recap underway. Starting it off, we had Talita ALENCAR taking on Ariana Carnelossi. I picked Carnelossi here. Do I regret it? Somewhat. I do have to question the IQ of Carnelossi. She was the one engaging a majority of the grappling. A lot of clinch situations, and as physically strong as she looked, she was getting taken down from those positions a lot. Didn't really flow with the striking, where her chances of winning this fight were definitely going to be. Talita ALENCAR was able to capitalize on Carnelossi closing the distance as recklessly as she did, utilizing that clinch and taking her down, ultimately finding the sub with 30 seconds to go in that third round. Carnelossi didn't really look that impressive. I really just picked her because I was fading ALENCAR. This was the last fight on her contract. She was hoping to get a finish and hoping to be able to renew her fight get a new fight contract, and it looks like she's going to come through on that promise that she made to herself, subbing Carnelossi with 30 seconds to go left in the fight. I wasn't that impressed. You know, there were a couple striking exchanges where I felt as though Carnelossi did get the better of ALENCAR, but she was really just on the pressure, but it was low IQ moments for her at the same time. For Talita, she did what she does best, you know, capitalize on some of those moments, get her taken down, apply the top pressure that she likes to do, threaten a couple of submissions throughout the fight too, and ultimately finding the sub in the third round. So salute to Talita. Again, it was more of a fade than picking Carnelossi, but Talita proves us wrong yet again. Good win for her. Next fight, we had Phil Rowe taking on Seokyeon Ko. Seokyeon Ko came out and dominated. I didn't think he would make it look this easy, honestly. I thought there would be a little bit more adversity coming from Phil Rowe's side, at least. Thought there would be some more striking exchanges on the feet, definitely. Phil Rowe was unable to defend the takedowns. Every time that Seokyeon Ko was able to get his hands wrapped around him, he took him down. 4 for 4 on takedowns, 13 minutes of control time, and he was busy, you know, from top control. It wasn't like a Jailton Almeida Alexander Volkov where Jailton was on top but didn't really do anything with the position. Seokyeon Ko was threatening submissions. He had some ground and pound going for himself, and he stayed active in that top control. He made Phil Rowe very hesitant on the feet because every time that Seokyeon would fake an attempt of a takedown, Phil Rowe was, trying to sprawl or even drop down lower than Seokyeon Ko, and Seokyeon Ko had that, he had the wrestling advantage clearly, and Phil Rowe, again, unable to defend the takedowns, got smothered and controlled for the entire fight. We've seen this from Phil Rowe multiple times now. You look at the Angelusa fight where, yes, he came back in the third round, found the finish, but Angelusa and Seokyeon Ko are completely different fighters. We see Angelusa fade in third rounds a lot, quite a lot, honestly. We've seen him do it in the Reese McKee fight as well. And you could go back to the Jake Matthews fight as well too, where we saw Phil Rowe very comfortable off of his back. I will say, so out of those two fights, Seokyeon Ko was definitely the most active from top control. I know Angelusa, I think he dropped him in their fight as well, but Seokyeon, pure domination throughout this fight, looked amazing, and came through on the picks for us. So good display of control and aggression from Seokyeon Ko, getting it done. 30-26 on one of the scorecards as well. So good win for Ko. Next fight, we had Elise Ardeoyan taking on Canelo Ruiz. Elise looked really good. She was the slicker kickboxer on the feet, definitely more active, more output from her too. You can see on the significant strikes, she definitely landed more. There was a headlock takedown attempt from Conejo, but like I said in the predictions, that really isn't gonna work at this level of MMA. I believe she hasn't even scored a takedown in her last 3 fights, where she's been knocked out in those 3 fights as well. At least definitely was the better striker from distance, even when they tied in, or excuse me, when they got into the pocket. Conejo did land a couple of big shots, but at least was able to eat it, counter with 2-3 shots of her own. Didn't really hurt Ruiz, because Ruiz is a tough girl. We got to give her some respect there, but at least just picked her apart for the entirety of the fight. 30-27, absolutely. That's the same way that I called it, and at least looked really good. Her striking looked good. I think there were moments for her to engage in the grappling. She did secure a takedown, I believe, in the second round. Didn't really do much with it, but she really just wanted to strike with Conejo, and that's what she ended up doing. 30-27, dominant display. Really good win from Elisa ARDELEAN. Next fight, we had Ketlen Vieira taking on Norma Dump Trunk Dumont. A lot of people are saying robbery on this one. I don't know. I mean, I understand it. Ketlen Vieira definitely, threatened a lot of submission attempts. That second round is definitely the toss-up round, where Ketlen got the takedown earlier than she did in the first round. First round, she got the takedown, I want to say about 2 minutes left to go in the round, threatened the arm triangle, had Norma looking like her takedown defense was non-existent, honestly. Second round got taken down as well, threatened a submission attempt, but I favor the striking from Norma Dumont earlier in that round. I think she did a lot more than what Ketlen Vieira did to end the round. I know it does look better to end rounds in dominant positions, but I think that second round, Norma Dumont was more accurate, more output with the striking, and was able to build a small lead. Granted, it wasn't, a large one. If you go and look at, I think it's this app called The Verdict, that scorecard for the second round, it would probably be like 9.6 to like 9.78, something around there. They score it very, very accurately, I'll say. But and then in the third round, I felt as though Norma Dumont was the aggressor, defended the takedowns, was on the gas, landed some big shots, kept Ketlen Vieira backing up the entirety of the third round, kept her up against the cage, landed a couple of big overhand rights, and I thought she was the rightful winner. Granted, I did pick her, so I'm definitely grateful for split decisions going my way. You've seen 2 weeks ago, we were on the other side with Cheeto and Ayman Zahabi, so to get one going in our favor, I'm definitely a fan of that. But I did think Norma Dumont did enough to win. Ketlen Vieira definitely didn't, put out a bad display for herself. Definitely was hunting for a finish. I think for Vieira, she'll be able to get a fight with, maybe she could run it back with Pennington. Maybe she can fight Juliana. Maybe she could fight Aldana, maybe. There's fights for Ketlen Vieira. For Norma Dumont, do I think the UFC is going to give her the winner of Nunes Harrison whenever we get that? Hopefully it'll be on the White House card. Probably, but I wouldn't be upset if they, made her fight somebody else for a #1 contender fight. Definitely needs to work on the grappling defense or the takedown defense, because it was non-existent against Ketlen Vieira. And if she goes in there with Amanda Nunes or Kayla Harrison, we already know what's going to happen. She's going to get taken down and dominated. So, but I was happy to see Dump Trunk Dumont get a W here. Win streak is still alive. I believe she's up to 6 fights in a row now, and I think like her last 3 or 4 by split decision, something weird to that order, or 3 out of her last 5, something. But I thought Norma Dumont did enough to win. I think it was a good scrap. I figured it would be, a close fight when I did the predictions. Let's see, 1 split. Oh, never mind. All unanimous. Last split decision was Macy and then Felicia Spencer. That's why you got double check, man. The broadcast be saying some wrong things, but good win for Norma Dumont. I thought she was the rightful winner as well. Next fight, we had Dante Johnson taking on Cedricus Dumas. I thought Dante Johnson was going to get the knockout. I thought it would be in the first round, but vet move by Dumas, going to the wrestling, taking him down, taking him somewhere that he's never, been before. But Dumas is not a really good fighter, to be quite honest. We saw that in the second round. Dante Johnson was able to get that choke in. Dumas was ready to tap by the time that Johnson threatened the sub. He didn't even have it in, and he was already ready to tap. Gets the second round submission, and I will have to say there's still a lot of kinks in Dante Johnson's game. He's super aggressive, and we saw Cedricus Dumas be able to counter that with the wrestling. I think there's definitely better middleweights that can do the same thing. He does have, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say he's threatening to crack the top 15 or anything like that. He's still got a ways to go. Maybe a fight with, I'm trying to think of like some young middleweights, because he's got a lot of work to do. Definitely in the wrestling. Definitely needs to calm himself down and stop hunting the first round finish, because they'll definitely come. He probably could have, stayed in front of Cedricus Dumas and been a lot calmer, and that knockout would have came in the first round rather than hunting him down the way that he did and getting countered with the wrestling. It was a slick move from Dumas, but again, not enough to find a win or even put out a good showing for yourself, getting submitted in the second round. I think Cedricus will be finding himself off the UFC roster come Tuesday. For Johnson, if I had to give him a matchup right now, I would tell him to take at least 4 to 6 months to do some work, get the jitters out, because it definitely looked like he was coming out to blow Dumas's head off. I don't blame him, but take a little bit of time, get the jitters out, work on the wrestling, work on the grappling defense, work on just being present rather than trying to finish guys in the first minute and a half. I'm trying to think of a matchup for him. Maybe it would have to be like a low-level guy, probably like you can give him like a Trayshawn Gore if he's still on the record or on the roster. If not, then what's the guy? You could give him the guy that Gautier just blasted. Forgot his name. Or you can give him, man, I'm trying to dig for scraps, because that's really what you could give Dante Johnson right now. He's got a lot of things that he needs to work on, but yeah, that's what I got for him right now. I can't think of the guy's name that Gautier just knocked out, but him or the Mexican guy that Gautier knocked out as well. Just giving him Gautier scraps, but good win for part of the lock of the week. We'll get to the other portion later. Next fight, Timmy Kawamba taking on Chang Ho Lee. Hey man, like I said on the weigh-in recap, I thought Timmy Kawamba looked a little frail, and he was getting dominated for that first 6.5 minutes, I'll say. Chang Ho Lee came out super aggressive, was walking him down, taking him down, got on that back of Kawamba's for that first round, pretty much the entire round. Was threatening the choke, was landing some cheeky little punches off of his back, almost slipped off, but was able to regain himself and stay on that back to end the first round. Second round, got the takedown, but Kawamba definitely looked to be the fresher fighter, at least going into the later portion of the second round as well too. Was able to get his striking going, landed a big knee down the middle, and we started to see Chang Ho Lee fade a little bit. Was losing position in that second round, got reversed. Kawamba was able to get on top and threaten, with a choke of his own. Chang Ho Lee did try for a armbar, and that's what led to the reversal from Kawamba, who was able to get on top to end the second round. Third round, Kawamba was getting the striking going, got a takedown for himself, landed some ground and pound, and we really saw Chang Ho Lee, sucking wind and definitely was gassed. Timmy Kawamba was threatening with a choke to end the fight and landed some, decent ground and pound to get himself 29-28 on the scorecards. Definitely thought Timmy Kawamba was the rightful winner. We'll say that first portion of the fight definitely showed that, I don't know, man. I don't think he's like the strongest bantamweight, but you can never count Timmy CUAMBA out. You know, he was in that fight with Oki, you know, who's a lightweight. He was in that fight with Almeida, and then he ended up knocking out Roberto Romero. Good showing for him here. I do think bantamweight will be the right weight class for him, but I don't know. I'm thinking like a Wellmaker knocks his head off. I'm thinking who's like a really good wrestler down at bantamweight, like unranked bantamweights. Maybe they do him versus Simon, Cameron Simon. I can see that happening. I can see CUAMBA versus. I want to see him versus another striker. I know Chang Ho Lee was like the grappling base, but I want to see him versus another striker. We need to see what the power looks like now that he's down at bantamweight, cutting 2 weight classes pretty much. It was really just one, but I don't know. I think he could get overpowered. He never quits on himself. You could definitely salute him for that. But the damage that he wears, he was bust open in this fight too. I don't know. I think there's some bantamweights that could get him out of there. We'll have to see, but good win for Timmy CUAMBA here. For Chang Ho Lee, hey man, two losses on the record doesn't hurt. I think he'll get back in there pretty soon, and he'll be able to get a W under his name. Tough customer for CUAMBA, but good fight overall. Next fight, the prelim finale, we have Billy ELEKANA finding the first round sub over Kevin Christian. Beautiful submission. Actually, Kevin Christian was tapping, but he had his arm locked up, and the referee was on the other side, so almost got put to sleep completely. But Billy ELEKANA managing range for about the first 2 minutes of the fight. Kevin was throwing a lot of kicks. Gotta respect the kick game of Kevin Christian, but again, man, he does not really know how to dictate range, and that's something that we saw Billy ELEKANA be able to expose. Huge overhand right, rocks him, drops him, and Billy, goes to town with some ground and pound, finds a submission, rear naked choke, just like I told you he would do. Thought it would be a little sooner in the fight, but he didn't even really need to create the wrestling opportunity because he blasted him with the overhand, got the submission first round, and I sent to my Discord actually first round submission, and we played the submission straight, so plus 1600 on the first round, and then plus 600 for the submission prop as well. So hit on that. Beautiful call. Got to give myself a round of applause for that. And then like I told you guys, Billy ELEKANA by sub was definitely going to be the method. Gets it done. First round submission. Nice finish from Billy ELEKANA to end the prelims. Moving on to the main card opener. If you guys haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We had NASCIMENTO taking on Cody Durden. Wins the fight, second round submission, but I will say Cody Durden definitely made it a scrap early on. Was closing distance with the boxing. Really had NASCIMENTO looking a little, I don't know, frustrated. He was getting busted up. His striking is weird because he stands really tall. His chin was up in the air. I feel as though if Cody Durden came into this fight with a full camp, he probably could have clipped NASCIMENTO, but Cody Durden is really scrappy, and with the scrappiness comes sloppiness at times. Allen was he was dictating range with the kicks fairly well, was throwing some front kicks down the middle, even clipped Cody Durden at one point in the second round to find that choke. It was a good performance for him. He definitely looked like he was fight ready compared to Cody Durden coming in on short notice, but good submission for him. The sub in the second round, I believe it hit for plus 200, plus 150, something around there. But I don't know. I thought Durden would put up a little bit more of a fight. He made it interesting for as long as he did, but hopefully, Cody Durden doesn't get cut from the roster because he is a pretty fun flyweight. I know he's getting up there in age a little bit. I think he's like 35, 36, and he has been taking a lot of losses recently, but he still makes he's good for a fun fight. I think Cody Durden can still hang with not necessarily the best of them, but a good portion of the flyweights. NASCIMENTO actually called out Steve Erceg for that matchup. I can see him having some success with Erceg. Erceg's power, I have to say, definitely looks overrated for him not being able to finish Ode Osborne, who we've seen finish a couple of times in the UFC now. definitely has me questioning his power. And we've seen Ode Osborne threaten a submission against Steve Erceg. He can have a lot of success against Erceg, so I think they should book that fight if they are going to move him into the rankings. Erceg isn't that high up. I believe he's still 10. If he's not 10, I know he's in the top 10, but Alan Nascimento versus Steve Erceg, valid use of a call out, because we'll get to an interesting call out that we got later in the night. But Nascimento versus Erceg definitely makes a lot of sense. I would definitely like to see it, especially with the grappling holds that we saw from Erceg. So book it, UFC. Next fight, we had Charles Chuck Buffalo Radtke taking on Daniel Frunza. Frunza looking like the nail again. Radtke, he did implement the grappling like I thought he would. I didn't think he would ride it out as long as he did, though. First round, he was definitely cranking on that neck. Almost had the submission there. And Frunza was fighting out of it fairly well. I thought Radtke would go to town with some ground and pound a little bit more, but Frunza was able to escape that first round. Did have some damage, was cut in his eye. Second round, we had the under 2.5 for the other portion of the lock of the week. Man, I was in pain. The elusive Apex parlay lock, escapes our hands again. And just for Radtke to get the sub with 30 seconds to go in the fight, it definitely pissed me off, because if you were just gonna do that, you probably could have done it earlier. And I don't know, man. It is what it is. We miss again on the elusive Apex lock. But I would say Charles Radtke definitely looked more mature than we've seen him. He's so used to, being in the pocket and exchanging hard shots with the other guys. Frunza was unable to really get anything going. He landed like a cool spinning back kick to the midsection, but other than that, you can't really say he landed anything of consequence. Radtke took him down every single round, got this, threatened the submission attempts, got the sub in the third round, and he looked really mature. For Radtke, I don't think he made a call out, but he definitely said, if you're going to go to a man's home country, get knocked out, you got to come back next time out, play no games, straight to business. So got the submission, got a finish, got back in the win column for Frunza. 2 finishes in a row in the UFC doesn't really look that good for him. They're going to have to give him somebody. Who are they going to give him? I can see them giving him Gorimbo, honestly, or even I don't know. I really don't know. For Radtke's kind of like, he kind of reminds me of like the Drew Dober of the division. For Radtke, maybe a Jake Matthews fight, maybe a Chidi and Njokuani fight. There's fun fights for Charles Radtke. Definitely salute the matured game. Wish he would have got the sub a lot sooner, but it is what it is, man. We move. Next fight. Now, Isaac Dalgarian taking on Yadier Del Valle. We picked Isaac Dalgarian, right? But there was some funny business going on. The line crashed. Dalgarian was like a minus 220, and then all of a sudden he closes at minus 140. We don't know if there was injury being disclosed or something like that, but I have there's like a speculation tweet from a couple accounts that I'm seeing on X, formerly known as Twitter, but they were saying nothing confirmed, obviously, but I'm hearing that there's something going on with Dalgarian. Not sure if it's concerns about a fix or an injury. Friend who works for Hard Rock says that they got 5 very large bets from different people on Del Valle round 1. Activity was flagged in their system, and apparently there's a lot of buzz about it there right now. And for Del Valle to get the sub in the first round against Dalgarian, who's got the wrestling credentials, got really good, submission defense, and for him to not even get or for Devallier to defend the takedown the way that he did, definitely raised an eyebrow. So for the pick on this fight, if you guys want me to take it on the chin, I will, but I don't know, man. There's definitely a lot of fishy things going on. You look at Dulgarian in the warm up, not even looking at the camera. You look at the odds crashing as soon as, or, right before the walkout. Definitely a lot of fishy business going on around this fight. Devallier, though, capitalized on whatever was going on. Got the submission in the first round. We played Devallier by submission. It was a prop that I mentioned to the Discord that I'm in back on Tuesday, Wednesday, before I do the lock of the week. So I got in on that prior to, the whole funny business. Granted, the pick was Dulgarian. The picks and the bets don't always line up, guys, if you don't know that, by the way. But yeah, funny business going on. I hope we get some clarity, hopefully by the end of the night, or maybe by tomorrow, later into the week, so we can understand exactly what happened. But Devallier, we'll store this win in a different bag moving forward, because we need to know what was happening, and we could probably put this fight to the side for his next matchup, especially if it's against a really good wrestler. But good win for Devallier. Interesting to see what they match him up with next. I'll probably give him a striker next time. Somebody who's got a chin, a little durable, maybe the likes of like a Feely. Maybe that's a little too high up. I know he's back in the win column. Maybe they give him C-Rod. He is the prospect killer. Maybe they give him... What could you do for Devallier? I'm trying to pull up the rankings now, but there's some good fights for the featherweight division. I think Devallier looked good. I think he is solid. I thought Dulgarian, would come out with the wrestling a lot better than what he did. I think it was an injury, though. I think someone was saying a leg injury. They said that he was limping on the way to the cage. Let me know in the comments if you guys saw any funny business going on with Isaac Dulgarian, because for him to sell the fight that he waited the way that he did, it definitely didn't make a lot of sense. For Devallier, there's a Jack Jenkins fight. There's a John Castaneda fight. If you want to go more of the striker side, maybe they give him maybe Ju Sang Yu. Two prospects face off, one getting knocked out. Maybe the Korean Tiger, Jung Young Lee, decent boxing. Just fights for him. You know what I'm saying? Dulgarian, hopefully, heals up from whatever it was. If it wasn't an injury, let us know, man, so we could get some clarity. Featured fight of the night, we had Jeremiah Wells taking on Timba Gorimbo. Timba Gorimbo looked like he was going to win this fight for the first 7 minutes, and then sells the fight. He didn't really gas, but he just sold the fight. Unable to defend the takedowns, unable to defend the submission attempts, unable to get back to his feet. Striking from both of these guys really looked really clunky. Wells was landing the bigger shots. Gorimbo was super active first 1.5 rounds, I'll say. Got his own takedowns, was able to reverse positions, getting the full amount at moments. Didn't really do a lot of damage from top position, but he was getting to those positions really quick, and you could definitely see that the pace that he was fighting at wasn't going to last very long, and it didn't. Jeremiah Wells, he's a really strong dude, was able to work back up to his feet majority of the times that he was taken down, was able to reverse positions, was jumping on that neck time and time after time, going for anacondas, going for gillies, going for rear naked chokes. Anytime that Gorimbo was in a position where he could capitalize on it, he was threatening that neck. So the submission attempts definitely played a favor into the decision. Was I confident on either side? No. I thought, Timba could have probably won the first half of the second round, but losing the second half definitely didn't look that impressive to the judges. And then that third round was a clear Jeremiah Wells round with the takedowns, controlling them, little cheeky shots, with the ground and pound. It is what it is. Neither one of these guys, I think, are, top 15 level. Jeremiah was calling for a Michael Chiesa fight, which could end up working. Michael Chiesa, I don't really rate high at all. I don't think he's top 30. I know his last fight was a win over Max Griffin, I believe. So they got a common opponent. I think Michael Chiesa will probably be the better jiu-jitsu guy, but Jeremiah Wells is strong. Gotta give him some credit for that. Does he take down Michael Chiesa? I don't think so. Not as sloppy as he is. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully they give it to him. He said if not Michael Chiesa, then some Australian guy. Maybe he was talking about Jake Matthews. So if Jake Matthews doesn't end up fighting Charles Racky, then maybe they tie him up with Jeremiah. I don't know, man. I don't think Jeremiah would be, making a run towards the top 15 or anything like that. Give him a couple fights. We'll see. We'll see where he is. Yeah, I know he's 39. I don't think he'll be much. I don't think he'll be here for much longer. For Timba, I don't know. I know there's a lot of people were saying this was like a karma fight with him not finishing the school that he was working on or something like that. Hey man, if you're gonna make a promise to them kids, make sure you come through on it. So I guess karma got the last laugh. Is what it is. Next fight, co-main event of the evening where we had some drama. Waldo Cortes-ACOSTA taking on Ante Delija. First round, weird stoppage. Ante Delija blitzes Waldo. Looks like he's getting a TKO. He's wailing on him, lands a couple shots, and Mark Smith jumps in between them, stops the fight. But hold on, it's not a TKO. He didn't, wave the fight off or anything. He just said stop. They gave Waldo a seat. They ran the replay, and come to find out, we get a finger poke. We get a finger poke from Tom Aspinall's #1 training partner, Ante Delija. So, Cortez, salute to Waldo Cortes, showing Tom Aspinall, he said it in his, I can say this because he said it in his post-fight interview, that he's not a pussy, he's here to fight. He ate the eye poke. Eye was all swollen. He said he could only see about 20-30%. Said, just give me the 5 minutes. I'm going to wipe my eye and I'm going to keep fighting. And that's what he did. And he came out and finished Ante Delija. Right hand in the pocket, sits Delija down, finishes him with a couple shots of ground and pound, and the fight is over. First round, one of the weirdest fights we've ever seen. Some people were cashing on the Delija knockout. Then the bet was taken back because the fight didn't get called off and Waldo gets the finish. Hey, big flip from the weigh-in to Waldo was spot on. Didn't think it would go like this, but I knew that he would be able to handle the pressure from Delija because Waldo Cortes is not unathletic. He's a pretty athletic heavyweight for the size that he is. Delija, we saw, ran through Marcin Tybura, who is just big, fat, gonna stand there and get clipped. Waldo, we saw how crazy he could be. He definitely likes fighting off that cage because he knows, where he's gonna be, where his foundation is. That's what I was trying to say. He moves his head off the cage really well. He moves his body, rolls with shots pretty well. Delija didn't really land anything clean, and when we saw one of them land something clean, it was Waldo putting Delija down. Sat him down, got him out of there. Delija was super confused. You definitely have to say it was the adrenaline dump from that knockout that he thought he scored. And this was huge for the heavyweight division because of the mix-up that we've had, holding the belt with Tom and John, and then the eye poke last week with Tom and Cyril. Now they're in a delay. Hopefully they get it rebooked, beginning of the year or something like that. Then Volkov winning. Waldo called for a title shot. I'm not mad at him finishing Delija. Granted, he just lost to Pavlovich, but Pavlovich is in that weird situation where you lost to Tom, you lost to Volkov. I think he would end up losing to Cyril Gahn too, so he's in a weird position. Waldo definitely made the statement, snapping back from the loss that he took, hanging in there with Pavlovich, who's been running through majority of the guys that he's faced. Definitely deserves some credit. And for him to but put out Delija the way that he did, coming through the adversity of the eye poke, which we just saw how significant it was in the heavyweight title shot or heavyweight title fight, definitely gives Waldo Cortes some boost to a title shot possibly. Now, I don't think he gets it next. I do think he gets a number one contender fight, especially with the title being held up even longer with the delay from the eye poke. So Waldo versus Volkov makes the absolute most sense right now. Definitely could do it if they're willing to get in there. Probably end of the year or first card of the month or first card of the year. Definitely makes the most sense. Or even put it on the same card as the heavyweight title is going to be on. I think that's what you have to do. Waldo bouncing back the way that he did with the eye poke, with how everything just played out, you got to give that man exactly what he calls for. It could be a fight night main event, Waldo versus Volkov, or like I said, put it on the Paramount card. It's not pay-per-view anymore. Paramount card with the heavyweight title shot. So respect to Waldo for finding the finish, man. Granted, it came how it came, but he got it done. Round one, TKO Waldo Cortez for DELIJA. Now he could just feed off of the lower end of the heavyweight division. There isn't really much in that division. I could see him beating a couple of guys, but maybe they give him. I can see them matching him up with Derek Lewis for sure. Derek Lewis, Ante DELIJA, book it, madness. I don't think DELIJA really got cracked like that. Like he wasn't flatlined. He got stuck and sat down. I think he'll be able to get back up a couple months. It wasn't that hard of a shot. So DELIJA versus Derek Lewis is the fight to make, in my opinion. And let's move on to the main event of the evening. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Steve Garcia being the hammer against the nail, David Onama, running through him in the first round made it look easy. I told you guys in the prediction, David Onama has a really bad habit of starting slow, getting clipped, getting dropped by guys, Roberto Romero, Nate Landwehr. And that's exactly what happened here. Steve Garcia walking forward, constant head movement, throwing big shots, cracking David Onama, cracks him up against the cage, gets him out of there in the first round. What more do you want from the Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, taking this fight just because he wanted to? Steve Garcia is the man right now. He's on fire in the featherweight division. He called for Max Holloway, which is super questionable because Max Holloway is not a featherweight anymore. He moved up to lightweight. He's not dropping back down to 45. If Steve goes up to 55, it kind of like kills everything that he's doing right now. So a better fight, in my opinion, would be John Silva, who just got knocked out. And John Silva's what, 7 or 9, somewhere in the top 10. Definitely makes the most sense. Well, makes a lot of sense. Two finishers going up against each other. If it's not John Silva, I have another fight in mind, Arnold Allen, because I feel as though the UFC, this is what they wanted from Arnold Allen. Come in and putting guys out the way that Steve Garcia is doing. Line it up. Arnold Allen's been out for a while. I think that's a fun fight. I think you could book that. Steve Garcia is making his name known. Shout out to both of these guys. First main event for both of them. But David Onama got to get used to being the hammer rather than a nail, especially early. Was unable to get out of the first gear. Well, you can't do that with a guy like Steve Garcia, who starts fast, who starts powerful, and he's getting after it as soon as that first bell goes off. So Steve Garcia, the hammer, and we hammered Steve Garcia as well. Let's go through the picks. We're going to call that Bulgarian Valle fight a no contest because there's a lot of weird stuff going on. So that's a no contest. But 1-0 with Steve, 2-0 with Waldo, 2-1 with Timba. No contest. So 2-1, 2-1-1, 2-2-1 with Frunza, 3-2-1 with Nascimento, 4-2-1 with Billy, 5-2-1 with Timmy. Timmy, I just realized that. 6-2-1 with Dante. 7-2-1 with Norma, 8-2-1 with Elise, 9-2-1 with Sokyong, and then 9-3-1 with Tylita beating us over Carnelossi. So pretty decent on the picks. For the parlays, we did hit the plus 407, if you guys tailed, with DUMONT, CUAMBA, and Steve Garcia. And Striker's Delight parlay, we hit on that. Hit a couple straights. We hit the Billy ELEKANA sub, we hit Del Valle sub, we hit what else did we get? I believe that was about it, if I can't remember. I took Garcia round 2, ends up getting in round 1. I wanted to play Norma split decision, but I didn't pull the trigger on it. So we hit a couple of things. The lock of the week, unfortunately, we missed with the under 2.5 not coming through. Probably should have just did fight doesn't go the distance, but I didn't expect those guys to be as hesitant as they were. And I did say that if they were going to be a little hesitant, I figured Frunza would be hunting the finish more than what RADTKE would be, since RADTKE was the one going to initiate the wrestling. But it is what it is, man. We live, we learn. Decent profitable night for me, as at least did hit a parlay, so the picks were pretty solid for majority of the part. It was a decent night. Fights, I say the scorecard, or to score the fight card, I'll say like a 7 out of 10. I think it was a fun night. Decent scraps, couple of finishes, and then ultimately getting it right with the hammer with Steve Garcia in the main event. Waldo getting that comeback win was crazy. It was a decent night, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the full card. Let me know in the comments what you guys got to say. Drop a W in the chat if you don't got nothing. Like, comment, subscribe, support the channel if you want. You know we coming right back next week. Bone Fiend taking on Randy Brown. Got the picks coming for you Monday night. Got the lock of the week coming Wednesday. Weigh-in recap. We got it all. Make sure you guys turn on the post notifications. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.